Welcome to This Explainer. Look, I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we're going to dig into something that could literally make or break your financial future. Whether you call it FIRE, financial independence, retire early, or you just simply want the freedom to quit the rat race, everyone wants to reach that finish line. But here is the urgent reality we've got to talk about right now. Most people are making a massive, devastating mathematical error when planning for early retirement. They're doing the math, they're aggressively saving the money, and they are still going to fall dangerously short. So today, we're going to fix that. Let me just ask you directly right off the bat. Do you actually know how much money you need to retire early? Like, do you really know your exact number? Because it's incredibly common to think you have this all dialed in, only to realize years down the line that your calculation is completely wrong. And the reason it's wrong for so many people is that they completely ignore one silent, invisible factor that just destroys purchasing power. We're going to uncover exactly what that is, and more importantly, how to protect yourself against it. Section 1. The Big Retirement Mistake, the Silent Wealth Killer. To understand this killer, we really need to look at the foundation of the FIRE movement and pinpoint exactly where well-intentioned planners trip up. You've probably seen this basic FIRE formula everywhere. It says your FIRE number equals your annual expenses multiplied by 25. And look, that number 25 isn't just pulled out of thin air. It comes directly from the famous 4% withdrawal rule, which assumes if you withdraw 4% of your portfolio in year one, your money should theoretically outlast you. But here is the giant red flag, the huge mistake. People are plugging in their current expenses today to calculate a retirement that might be 10, 15, or 20 years away. If you use this basic formula with today's expenses, you are walking straight into a financial trap. Section 2. Factoring in inflation, the real cost of tomorrow. This is exactly why the basic formula fails. Inflation is continuously, relentlessly increasing the cost of living year after year. A loaf of bread today does not cost what it will cost in 20 years, and neither will your rent, your healthcare, or your vacations. If you calculate everything strictly based on today's cost of living, you're essentially assuming life costs the same forever. But the reality of tomorrow absolutely demands inflation adjustments. If you're planning to retire years from now, today's expenses simply won't cut it. You literally cannot build a future on today's prices. So, let me unveil the real mathematical formula you need to be using. This is the upgraded true math of early retirement. To find your future annual expenses, you take your current annual expenses and multiply them by 1 plus the inflation rate, all raised to the power of the years until you reach FIRE. Now, for all of our calculations today, just to keep things grounded in reality, we are going to assume a standard 6% inflation rate. And I know that 6% might look small on paper, but trust me, it is going to fundamentally and perhaps painfully change how you view your savings goals. Section 3. Real-world FIRE examples, seeing the math in action. Okay, theory is great, but there is nothing quite like seeing actual numbers to make it click. We're going to apply this true formula to 3 different rapid-fire scenarios to see exactly how inflation radically alters the retirement finish line. Let's start with our first example. Imagine you are 25 years old. You want to retire at age 45. That gives you exactly 20 years until early retirement. Right now, you're living a relatively modest lifestyle, and your current annual expenses are 6 lakh rupees. If you just use the old formula, you'd multiply 6 lakh by 25 and think you were totally done. But let's look at the true math. The difference over time is honestly pretty startling. Factoring in that 6% compounding inflation over 20 years, your current 6 lakh lifestyle will require 19.24 lakh in the future. That is what you will actually need just to survive and maintain the exact same lifestyle you have today. You aren't living any more luxuriously, things just cost that much more. Now, we apply the 25x rule to the right number. You take that future expense of 19.24 lakh, multiply it by 25, and boom, there is your true financial goal, 4.81 crore. This makes the target crystal clear. If this 25-year-old had only aimed for 25 times their current 6 lakh, they would have run out of money incredibly fast. 4.81 crore is the real mountain they need to climb. All right, let's look at a slightly different situation. This is scenario 2, a 30-year-old who wants to retire at 50. So they also have a 20-year timeline until FIRE. However, they're a bit older, perhaps a bit further along in their career or with a family, so they are starting with a higher baseline of 12 lakh rupees in current annual expenses. Once again, tomorrow's reality bites. Subjecting their 12 lakh lifestyle to 6% compounding inflation transforms it into a massive 38.49 lakh requirement. Because their baseline was twice as high as our first example, the compounded effective inflation creates a much steeper hill to climb just to maintain their standard of living. So the crucial takeaway here is what happens when we calculate their final number. We take that 38.49 lakh future expense, multiply it by the 25x rule, and their actual FIRE number jumps to a staggering 9.62 crore. This really highlights how your current lifestyle footprint radically dictates the size of the portfolio you'll ultimately need to sustain it. Finally, let's examine our third scenario. This is a 40-year-old aiming to retire at 55. In this case, they only have 15 years for inflation to compound, so it's a shorter window. But their current lifestyle is a lot more expensive. They're starting with 18 lakh rupees in annual expenses. Let's see how the shorter time frame interacts with those higher initial expenses. Look at this. Even with fewer years for inflation to do its damage, 15 years instead of 20, their future annual expenses still just rocket up. Starting at 18 lakh today, compounding at 6% for 15 years, means they will need over 43 lakh, 43.13 lakh to be precise, every single year once they hit 55, just to buy what 18 lakh buys them right now. By now, you know exactly what to do with that number. Multiplying that future annual expense of 43.13 lakh by 25 gives them their true, mathematically sound FIRE target. And that target is 10.78 crore. That is the safety net they need to build over the next 15 years to ensure they can confidently step away from work at age 55. Laying all these trajectories side by side reveals the true scale of the challenge here. The 25-year-old needs 4.81 crore, the 30-year-old needs 9.62 crore, and the 40-year-old needs 10.78 crore. Your age, your timeline, and your current expenses are the three unique dials that will entirely dictate your personal path to freedom. Section 4. Calculate your FIRE number, your action plan. We've seen the danger of the basic formula, and we've seen how the true math plays out for others. Now, let's transition to what this means for you. It's time for your action plan. I want to empower you to literally take out a pen, grab a piece of paper, or open up a calculator on your phone and do this math yourself, right now. Here is the exact, easiest 5-step blueprint needed to calculate your true FIRE number. Step 1. Write down your current yearly expenses. And hey, be brutally honest with yourself here. Step 2. Choose your desired retirement age, which gives you your years until FIRE. Step 3. Assume that 6% inflation rate. Step 4. Calculate your future annual expenses using the compounding formula we just discussed. And finally, Step 5. Multiply that future amount by 25. I strongly urge you to apply this today. Do not put it off. You now have the formula. You have the blueprint. You know the exact secret that trips up so many hopeful early retirees. So here is my final challenge to you. What is your real FIRE number? Go run your own numbers immediately, because when you finally know your true inflation-adjusted target, you take back control, you stop guessing, and you start building a mathematically sound path to the freedom you actually deserve. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now go run those numbers.